Alright, and a Contavad video. Uh, yeah, I just thought I'd give up. But there is no giving up, right? I mean, all you have is this conversation with the human race, and if this is what the human race is doing, you have to converse with it. So, alright, I played the first minute of this, and just, yeah, this is crap. But so now we're down to this language crap again about how to define words, and yeah, there does seem to be people like Bella, the Happy Loser. I mean, she lives in Croatia. English is her second language. She seems to know what these words mean. Other people living in foreign countries that have English as a second language seem to understand the distinction between morality and ethics, and know that we probably shouldn't be talking as philosophers about morality. We should be talking about ethics and value equations. These are concepts, and if we can't share a common language, a common way to describe what it is to be a functioning human being, then yeah, there's no conversation. It's just completely a broken way. If you're perceiving yourself as a magical organism, okay, and that you're doing something other than pleasing your psychology and affecting the psychology of other sentient beings, if you think you're doing something beyond those two things, all right, having a personal conscious experience of whatever qualia, and then imposing qualia experiences on the world around you, if you think there's something else happening, okay, then you're preposterously deluded. All right, and we should just label you so. I mean, explain yourself. Explain what else you think is happening. We're pleasing the spaghetti monster. What is it? What else is there? And that's where we define here in this argument is philosophers. The only thing they don't care about how you please yourself. They're not going to get into an argument about what's better, who wins, Superman or Batman, or what's better, like Pop-Tarts or English muffins. They're not going to waste their time arguing what's better. Okay? All they're going to talk about is what it creates in terms of conscious experience and what it creates in terms of effect. What is the end product of your adventuring? If I make something, that will dictate its reality. Is what does it do to people? What does it do to the sentient life on Earth? Regardless of my intentions, what does it produce in the world? And that's the fact of it. It'll affect my personal self-esteem, I invented it, and it'll affect the people who will use it. It'll either be doing something constructive for them or something very destructive. And it isn't my fault if it all goes bad and the whole world blows up and whatever else happens. Certainly there's no point in calling it fault, but there's certainly good reason to say it was a bad idea. These aren't things we can't discuss, and this is exactly what philosophers are supposed to be talking about. What is the real net effect? What is the real net game? It's not about this short-term thing. That's like talking about economics in the short term. Well, in the short term, buy a credit card, right? Get a credit card. If all you're going to do is talk about short-term economics, everybody get a credit card, use it to the max. There. Everybody's happy. No problems at all. Because we'll just eliminate the reality that you got to pay it back. We'll eliminate the truth of the net effect. And we'll call that having a philosophy. We'll call that being good economics discussers and conversers and conversationalists. Because we'll just pretend that economics only lasts 4 years. And everything after 4 years doesn't exist. Well, you can't do that with economics. You can't do it with any subject. And you can't do it with philosophy. Philosophy is about the whole game, not little tiny pieces of the game. Whether you like Pop-Tarts or English muffins is not a philosophical debate. Nobody's sitting here arguing that people can't have preposterous self-delusions, as long as they keep those delusions in the confinement of themselves, as long as those delusions only affect themselves. No one's philosophizing, saying they can't do that. Oh, that's bad. Oh, that's wrong. They really aren't. They're not even close to being on a reasonable subject here. But I mean, really, we have to have some sort of common language. I mean, if we're not going to speak a common language, this is just so fucking futile.
Hi, Bella. I just I really like your responses, by the way. I thought I'd make something clear. I don't think that you and I are likely to come to any kind of agreement in terms of the issue of meaning, because we may not be talking about the same thing.
Right, so why bother talking? Exactly. If you can't use a common language, then why talk? Why have a conversation? It's just a waste of time. And because you all have special philosopher language, we're going to pretend we're talking about reality when we're not.
To me, meaning is something that falls outside of what we normally call that which is disputable or verifiable.
Oh, isn't that nice? It's just so convenient. Disputable and verifiable. So you're gonna say that we have to concede the existence of the non-verifiable. Yeah, no, I don't have to concede the existence of such mush. We're mechanical devices. You want to pretend we're something else? Yeah, no, sorry. You know, this is just so irritating.
It's not something that we can phenomenally demonstrate. That we can...
Yeah, God. So, right, okay, so I should bother having a fucking rational conversation with a fucking theist, and that's all you've become. You know, you have special purpose given to you by the special out of the range of judgment, whatever, magic force.
Demonstrate to someone else. I can't... If my existence has meaning by sitting in front of that pachinko machine playing...
Right, well, let's understand again this pachinko thing, okay? You keep talking about this damn pachinko thing, and you might as well be talking about slot machines in Las Vegas. So again, you've mysticized something that's gambling, okay? You want to know why the Japanese play pachinko? Because it's gambling. It's a gambling machine. So what's more retarded? The little ball that bounces around and then gives you a reward, or silly little wheels that turn and go 3 cherries and you win. So if you want to make jokes about ridiculous human beings, why didn't you just pick Las Vegas and say some fat ass sitting there spending her welfare money staring at a damn little wheels flipping until she gets 3 cherries? You want to talk and it's called that meaning. There's meaning in just being a fucking whore for the gambling dollar. No, there's no the meaning of that is stupid. That's the whole meaning of that concept. Is stupid.
Chinko. And it gives me purpose, joy, and fulfillment, and a sense of belonging in the universe, or whatever terms you want to use to describe.
Right, it doesn't matter if you're spending the kid's milk money. It just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the kid goes without milk or without medicine, without, you know, some antibiotics because you wasted all the goddamn money on your pachinko. Fuck.
Right, meaning. Then, whether anyone else likes it or not, that gives me meaning, or I shouldn't even say it gives me meaning.
Yeah, it gives you. Again, so again, you're just taking activities, like pretending that most of human activities, that most of the things we do are somehow in some sort of realm where it has no social impact. That we're not somehow wasting valuable resources or doing something else. So if I was some whore rich person and I just decided I was just going to sit there and whatever, name something valuable. You know, a bunch of people make little fancy vases, and I just wanted to sit around all day and break them with a hammer because I had the money to do it. Nobody could critique that and say, well, that's a huge waste of resources. Those people should have been working on something more valuable, because look what you're doing to the value they created. You're just breaking it. It's just a total waste of value, a total waste of sweat, a total waste of oriented initiative. You've just stolen value from the human race. They're working more hours for less money because you're just destroying the value of what they create. This is somehow in the realm where I'm not allowed to critique it. I'm not allowed to look at it and say that is totally unproductive, you fucking cunt. Of course I am.
My life has meaning. You can't look at somebody else and say, you just think that your life has meaning. You don't.
Yes, you can. Yes, you fucking can. Okay, so again, you keep saying there's things we can't do. Yes, you can. You can look at somebody doing something retarded, drunk driving, and you can say, that's fucking stupid. It has totally negative downside risk. There's absolutely no good to be accomplished here whatsoever. fuck you, it's bad. I mean, this is just bullshit. You cannot sit there and say anything that somebody says, I like to do it, and therefore now somehow it's in the realm of it gives them meaning. Bullshit. If it gives them meaning at any social cost, it's within the realm of critique.
Your life doesn't have meaning. By the same token, you can't say to somebody, and I've seen a lot of religious people say this to people who are in a state of despair, you just think that your life doesn't have meaning. It has all kinds of meaning. That's equally stupid.
Yeah, well, again, another example from the realm of preposterous. I've never had that encounter in my entire existence with Christians or any religious people. I've never seen them say anything like that. They just say things like, you're going to go to hell. That's what they say.
Meaning comes from within. It's not something that we can...
Again, bullshit, okay? So meaning is a word derived from things like function and purpose. The word purpose, I guess I would say, to have purpose, something would have to have a likelihood or some sort of reason to believe it will have a positive function, so that the function will somehow produce a positive net result. So when it's all calculated out, that's a purposeful act, is one that is initiated by will and an intent, and the intent is to accomplish something of value, something that will produce a net plus. And meaning is a word attached to those concepts. Things have meaning because they are value rich. Okay, they both negative and positive. It's a value word. And again, values are everything about philosophy, and they're everything. It's everything about the job of philosophers is to do the value equations. They're the things science can't do. And these value equations have real numbers. These aren't non-existent numbers. They're not ambiguous numbers. We all experience consciousness. We know basically what it is. Again, you're just implying that somehow there's people with special consciousnesses where we can't possibly understand the power of their meaningful, glorious moment. Bullshit.
Look for outside of ourselves. It's not even something that we can identify. Do we have a means of determining whether or not there is meaning?
Yes, we do. So again, this is like, again, mystery. I don't understand you people. I just don't. I mean, you say to yourself, I should not have to explain to rational people that we know what has value, and that is comfort and pain. These things have value. Being comfortable is something worth paying for, and being in suffering is worth paying to avoid. These are just intrinsic commodities of existence. And yeah, I just don't know. I mean, can't we find some way to label ourselves? I don't mind wearing the tattoo, as long as you understand what the tattoo means. I mean, I'll put something right here on my fucking forehead, all right, to point out that I understand that the only thing that matters on this fucking shitty universe is the fact that there's things either going to suffer or they're not going to suffer, and it's going to happen based on our actions. And I understand that, and that's the value here, is things will be hurt, harmed in some way, and that's what matters. Fuck.
Again, science and things like that are really not of much help because, and certainly a...
Oh yeah, whatever. Yeah, understanding that we're just biological organisms, that we've been totally programmed to do this survival replicating thing, for no reason, which means not likely to be any meaningful purpose accomplished, and that this economics should be applied, as we should be able to. We either have to maximize it, we have to make it more efficient than the crude forces have made it by imposing fairness and justice, or we have to concede it's a very bad game.
A frame of mind that, I colloquially call scientism is worse than useless, because it almost says that because science can't demonstrate it, that meaning does not exist.
Bullshit. Who's saying that? Where? Again, you just say this shit like it's some kind of fact. It's not even close to a fucking fact. I haven't seen one scientist say that. The only assholes I see saying anything about value not existing is nihilist cunts like yourself.
Now, in my opinion, science doesn't say that. In fact, science, as I...
Right, so you just said it, now you say it doesn't say it. I mean, how do you get away with these contradictions, these disgusting, grotesque self-contradictions? You do this shit all the fucking time. Why is everybody not just saying you can't keep doing that, shithead? Why do you have 4 positive views, positive ratings, and 0 negative ratings for a video where you fucking self-contradict yourself all over the fucking place and presume to speak for everybody? I mean, how do you get away with this shit?
I understand it just sort of says that that's nothing to do with me. This idea of meaning or happiness or whatever, that's not my concern. Science is about things that are verifiable between people.
No, science is about creating the substance of the knowledge base that makes it possible to create any kind of contextual understanding. And that's what science provides. Science provides a ton of information about the mechanics and the function of the machine, what we are exactly doing. There's a ton of science about psychology and physiology of the brain. This is all valuable information about what we're doing and about what we're doing when we think we have meaning. So science does have something very important to say.
Demonstrable, peer review, all that kind of thing, which meaning it doesn't fall under that category. It doesn't. It's. I don't think it can.
Again, it's just such bullshit, okay? Your perception of meaning is just a perception, okay? You have a feeling attached to it. I did a good thing, or I enjoy, like I say, enjoy. A scientist can fully understand the addictive syndrome of some fat ass sitting there pulling the one-armed bandit. It's not beyond our capacity to understand.
Meaning is an experience. Meaning is a quale, one of your qualia. It's something that you either have or you don't have in your life, and you can't tell if someone else's life has meaning.
Oh, well, yes, you can. Well, there's no point now of the conversation, right? Because all you're talking about is some self-perception of self-value, how much you value yourself, how much you like yourself, and you're calling that meaning. That's not meaning. Okay, meaning is your function. What is your function? Did you spend your welfare money on the one-armed bandit, or did you spend it on your kids the way you're supposed to? One thing can be applauded, and one thing can be properly ridiculed. Their behaviors. They can be judged.
It's impossible to do that. And not only that, I can tell you that my life is meaningful, that my life has meaning, but I have no way of demonstrating that to you.
Well, then you really can't make the claim. I'm sorry, okay? I mean, you either speculate that, okay, my life is meaningful because I have helped prevent people from feeling bad, and I've made people more active in the world and fixing problems. And so I've made for a better future. I've made for a better future. That would be the argument you'd have to make to sit there and say that your life now it has function, purpose, and what might be called meaning. Okay, in any sense of the positive sense. Again, if you want to say your life has meaning as, yes, you're a fucking menace. Yes, you're meaningfully negative in your impact. Okay, I'll grant you that. You're very meaningful in the sense that you're a fucking menace.
You can say, prove that your life has meaning, and I'm stumped. That's the end of it. Okay, I guess you don't believe that my life has meaning. Oh well. Nothing you or I can do about that.
Well, again, it just kind of depends on what you're talking about. And again, you've already prefaced this whole conversation by saying, all you rational people, okay, I'm using a completely irrational definition of meaning. My definition of meaning doesn't have anything to do with reality. It has nothing to do with anything I have to demonstrate. Like, I can't, if I'm basically going to say I'm a good person, and I'm basically not going to explain how I've done any good in the world. I'm going to say I'm a great guy, but I'm not going to explain why I would be called great. What exactly did I do that was great? So again, this is just such bullshit. You're either going to say that you have lived a life of productivity, or you haven't. But whether you thought it was meaningful is not an issue of philosophical conversation. It would be idiotic for philosophers to waste their time That would be like explaining to a retard why pink balloon isn't important. Why would they waste their time explaining to a retard why pink balloon doesn't mean anything?
That's just the nature of the beast. We can't, as I said, when I was dealing with Quayle and the other ones, you can't experience someone else's experiences.
Oh, bullshit. I guess they're all common, okay? We're all conscious, and then maybe you think you're all specially weshally, but you're not.
Otherwise, you'd be them. And meanness is, my individuality is that which is on the receiving end of my experiences. So I don't think you can actually...
Well, again, this whole notion that the substance of your life takes place in a realm where it has no social consequence is just a preposterous delusion. Okay, the substance of your existence is your impact on the world, and you have to account for that.
Or this is what I meant, by the way, when I said meaning does not exist in the universe, but that doesn't mean there is no meaning. Meaning is not something you can go looking for and find.
No, so here we go again. So again, why would I mess with a word that doesn't have any relevance to reality? You're just saying it's just a delusional notion in your head. It's like what you call a woman's vagina or something, and you're going to say I should waste my time trying to understand why you call it a nookie pookie. I don't give a fuck. You want to be a deluded asshole and think you're productive and call it meaning or something? Well, go ahead and think it, but as soon as you go outside of yourself and say it to the rest of the world and claim it to the rest of the world, then they can judge you and say, wait a minute, there's no evidence of that, shithead. You can be as deluded and as superhero fetish you can wear your little underoos and run around your house thinking you're a super guy all the fuck you want. But as soon as you claim it, you claim a right to it. Okay, to my face, I have a right to say, where's your evidence? Where's your deeds, fucker?
Yeah, I suppose you can find things outside that will trigger meaning that will arise here. But it's not something that you'll actually find. The only thing I think that you can find in terms of...
Right. So this is all so fucking complicated, right? So if you crash and you get drunk, you drive your car into somebody else's car, you kill them, and you walk over to the car with the dead bodies, you don't have to account for it. You just say, my life has meaning. I don't, what the fuck? It just doesn't mean it. That doesn't mean anything. No, the meaning of your life is your impact on the world.
Meaning in the external world is something that will strike the spark that's already waiting to be struck inside you. As I said, there are lots of people who find meaning in all kinds of things that I find completely idiotic. As I say, religion, it doesn't do a thing for me, but I understand that it does give a ton of meaning for other people, so...
Well, again, but who would philosophically debate religion in that context? Who has ever, in the history of all debate, ever debated religion based on whether it made people happy or not? I mean, they might just mention that as one of the reasons why it has some value to religious people, is because somehow it makes people happy, but they wouldn't debate the idea of it making somebody happy. It would be totally irrelevant philosophically. It has no meaning. Alright, I'm back. Well, house. It's just so damn humid. Stupid contacts on the relay don't work right because it's so damn humid and blah blah. So anyway, let's get this over with already. I've got to speed this up a bit.
Unless I can actually get inside their consciousness and see the value that they draw from this, or the value...
Well, there we go. So you're using the word value, so there we go. Again, value to you doesn't mean anything in a philosophical sense. There's only two... I just don't see any other premise that's possible here. Unless you're going to identify the God you're in service to the only thing of value that we can understand is the sentient experience. And you either have a positive impact on the overall sentient experience or negative. You as a game piece are either break or knock off the board or in some way damage the other pieces around you, or you make it better for them. You take away the damage, you take away the risk, you make them feel less suffering, less pain. And that's it. There's nothing else happening here. Your functionality will be dictated by that alone. Yes, your conscious experience is one piece, one element of your existence. The other element of your existence is your impact on the equally valuable conscious experience yours. And if you can't understand that they're of equal value, if you can't understand that they're like you conscious, then yeah, I have no help for you. That's something science will teach you. And apparently you don't want to learn that lesson. But yeah, that's the reality of the game. I can't understand how you can have conversation. I just can't. I mean, you're insane in my opinion. There's no other word. You're insane if you can't understand that.
That is, I guess, that their ideas of religion act as a catalyst for. I don't really know whether or not they're getting anything out of religion.
Well, again, who cared? If religion was just a way of masturbating, nobody would be having this conversation, okay? If we just change the word to masturbation, so everything we're talking about here that doesn't impact anybody else, something you do in your own fucking bedroom, something that in no way destroys property, I mean, is totally something that only impacts you, which is still difficult to create such a circumstance. But yeah, who would care then? It would be irrelevant as a conversation. Nobody would care to have that conversation in that context. So everybody has the conversation about religion only because religion does affect the social order. It does affect the politics. It pollutes all these other lives. It's not about your religion. It's about the impact of your religion.
I can't experience their experiences. I can go into a church and look at a bunch of people singing hymns, and I can say, okay, you're singing. That's all very nice. Okay, I actually even like the sound of people singing hymns. But I'd say what a waste of time. I certainly wouldn't go out of my way to do this every Sunday.
Well, what if they were singing about being Christian soldiers and killing Jews? Could you get it then? Could you then realize, oh, these people might be dangerous? I mean, how overt does their impact on the world have to be before you recognize it?
Damn, that might be the high point of their week. How am I to tell them that they're wasting their time? It would be a waste of time for me.
And nobody's doing that. Exactly. I mean, this is just so fucking idiotic. Absolutely nobody is worried about Mohammed or Jesus or any of this shit in any other context than the fact that these people are dangerous to their lifestyle, that they will impose on them, that they will impact them. That's where it's a relevant discussion, and you keep pretending that, well, having babies or murdering people or political change, that somehow this doesn't affect anybody. Well, of course it does, shithead. There's no other way to see it. Yes, these things impact other people. I don't know. I mean, this guy obviously just doesn't get that other people exist on planet Earth. I don't know who the fuck he's talking to, but he obviously doesn't understand that other people exist.
People drag their butts into church every day or every Sunday, probably, simply because they've always done it, they grew up with it, their spouse is nagging them into it or whatever.
Yeah, and if it stopped there, who the fuck would care? That's right, absolutely nobody. But it doesn't stop there. They vote with that shit, fuckhead. You heard of voting?
But I'm sure that there are people that go in there because they like to do it. But at the end of the day, I don't really care why anyone does any of this stuff, because only they know that.
And you don't care if they decide to say that Antikantavad is a motherfucking ignorant asshole and we should just run him the fuck over with a steamroller. So you won't care if I get everybody to believe that, yes, you are a menace. Yeah, I'm sure you won't care.
They know their own reasons. So I think you got to be careful with meaning. value, this kind of thing. You mentioned that.
Yeah, right. And so you bring up examples that have absolutely no value context whatsoever, when in fact there's huge value context. You bring up the pachinko, you ignore the fact that it's gambling, and that people probably are spending their mortgage money on the pachinko. You don't acknowledge even that it's an addiction, like gambling is an addiction syndrome thing. It's a dependency. You talk about it like it's just some sort of joyride again. Joyride in the context that no, there's nobody to run over, there's not even a cat on the road, so go ahead, ride all you want because there's absolutely no consequence. And these are preposterously unrealistic examples of what life is on Earth. There is very little that you can goddamn do that isn't in some way going to be likely consequential to the rest of the world. Very little.
Suffering has value. Well, okay, I'm not going to dispute that. But does suffering absolutely have value? We don't know that because, and again, how can we?
Again, we don't have to know that. We can just declare that because the evidence is in. We have a big, giant ton of evidence about what consciousness is, that it has these experiences because it was to control behavior, whips and carrots, and that logically, if you can get the same work done with carrots that you can get done with the whip, then you should use the carrots.
Judge what our sufferings, what the value of it is. I can think of few things worse in this life to have than depression, and I had the worst kind of depression, apparently, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Apparently, I don't know. You keep saying it and claiming it. You keep claiming some sort of understanding, but from my perspective, no fucking way. You haven't even come close to what it really is, because you'd have a hell of a lot more humility when you heard the word suffering than you goddamn have. You have no appreciation and no respect, and that makes me think you don't even have a fucking goddamn clue.
But when they write the book on my life, that about 5 years that I went through of pure hell in my existence.
Right, relative to your whatever was your comparison that you're making that hell statement from. Again, I would claim that people do have common experiences and that they're within a range. But I mean, quite obviously, people can have very different tolerances to certain. Oh, sorry, I got these terrible freaking horsefly bites. Oh. Ooh. 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 Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we're gonna have we can. It is. I mean, I said it, I have my own life. Okay. I mean, the first 30 years of my life, I thought I knew what pain was, and then real pain showed up, and I said, "Holy shit! It can get 10 times worse than I thought it could."
They overall have actually improved my life. I don't know yet, and I won't know until I tip over, I guess.
Yeah, well, whatever. You will know some of this stuff. Okay, you can know some of the truths of your life before you're dead, or even long dead. But yes, some truths of your life aren't going to be known until you're very long dead, right? I mean, Van Gogh wasn't anybody while he was alive. He only was somebody after he was dead.
Life has ended. But it seems to have triggered something in me, a lot of introspection and thinking and reevaluating everything that I believed and everything that I thought I believed but didn't really, etc. It has acted as a trigger for a lot of things in my life that have turned out to be extremely positive.
It says you, right? I'd say it's got decidedly negative, okay? It's turned you into a seller of Pollyanna dope, okay? You're a drug seller, okay? A dope seller. You're giving it away like candy on the internet. So I'd say it was a decidedly destructive experience because it turned you into an asshole. Clearly.
But that's the worst kind of suffering I can possibly imagine, is severe depression.
Well, again, I just think that is such a preposterous statement. I mean, yes, depression is very bad, don't get me wrong, but I mean, somebody's sitting there with a goddamn fucking ice pick, poking at my nuts or something. It's probably going to be a hell of a lot worse.
And yet, it has value for me now. This experience that has a net benefit for it.
Oh, whatever, and that's the way life works. That's right. So because every now and then you drive off the cliff and just happen to land on a rabid saber-toothed lion every now and then, that somehow it all works out. I mean, just more fairy tale bullshit.
So you've got to be careful about suffering. Suffering and um, pain and everything in and of itself, it's very unpleasant when you're in the middle.
Yeah, yeah, in and of itself, it's very unpleasant. No, yeah, in and of itself, it's bad. In a context where you can have a little bit of torture to prevent a lot of torture, well, obviously a little bit of torture is a good then, because it can prevent a lot of torture. But that's as context. And it's only that context that makes the suffering good. Alright? But in and of itself, the suffering's bad. Can't you just say those words, make it nice and clear, so there's no confusion? You understand that in and of itself, isolated from context, suffering is bad. It's a negative feeling, a repulsion. It's the whip. It isn't the carrot.
Of it. But if you want to judge it, if you want to judge whether or not it's been good or bad for you, we're often not in a position to do so while we're in the middle of the suffering.
Well, whatever. We're often in the position to do so, though. That's the other thing. So you can say we're often not, but we're often are. We do know probabilities. We do know likelihoods. And we certainly can know context of the fact that you can't undo a negative with a silly, trivial positive. That we can know. That some bads you're just not going to be able to fix no matter how many sparkly glitter-covered cupcakes you bake. It just ain't going to fix the dead kid in the drunk driver car.
And I'm not saying that suffering is always good for you. Definitely not.
No, I'm just trying to imply it and just trying to use it as an argument technique to keep you all distracted and off the ball. Yes, right, exactly. We all get that. Let's laugh some more when we're talking about suffering. You don't see how that's a psychological maneuver? Fuck. I mean, you can't say the word suffering without putting on your clown face.
But we've got to be careful when we try to assign value to it. Because
yeah, right, because, you know, sometimes rape is fun for everyone. Sometimes she likes it. Okay, maybe it's only 1 in 1,000, but sometimes it's true.
while we're in the midst of this suffering, we don't understand. The jury is still out, rather, as to what value it will ultimately have.
Well, like I said, we don't need to have any out jury thing, okay? We can convict drunk driving as not being probabilistically rational. It's not sensible in the probabilistic equation. It's out of the ballpark. It's out of the game, okay? It's already committed too many fouls, whatever we want to describe it, but it's convictable. So we can convict actions based on their probabilistic outcomes. Ugh.
To us. Life is never cut and dried like that.
Oh yes, it never is, but that still doesn't matter, okay? All of this bullshit, the fact that Hitler could have been vital to human life being saved, but it's more likely that he was just a son of a bitch, and if he could go back in time, the thing to do is stick a fork in his eye. And that's the probabilistic truth, and we can know that right the fuck now. That's the probability that it would be a good idea to stick a fork in Hitler's fucking eye.
And one final thing I'd like to sort of say, I understand that what I'm talking about, there's a certain amount of overlap with things like antinatalism and, Zapfi and stuff like that. I'm not really interested in arguing that. I understand there is the overlap, but
Right, I don't want to discuss real philosophy. I just want to talk about cupcakes. Okay, right. So I wish you'd just say cupcake on your channel somewhere, just so everybody knows it's about cupcakes. It's not about anything meaningful and real. Okay.
Really I'm interested in is the
phantasmagorical bullshit. Yeah, right. The quality of the individual selfish cunt. And let's not talk about impacts on the world, because I don't acknowledge those. So you're just about how to be a successful selfish cunt. Yeah, but put that in the description of your channel. How to be a successful, selfish cunt.
Value of existing. Existentialism is the issue that I'm talking now.
Yeah, well, whatever. That should be in its own category right below religion. More fucktard than religion? Yes, the unnamed God. A God that actually doesn't have any name for real, or any identity, or any principles, or any ideas. He's just God.
Nobody is actually trying to get me to discuss antinatalism, but that's not. It may look otherwise, but that's not what I'm trying to discuss. What my position has nothing to do with babies.
Yeah, your position has nothing to do with accountability for your behavior and how it impacts the world. Right, exactly. It has nothing to do with anything a real philosopher should give a fuck about.
Because that's something completely different. Just thought I'd make that clear. But there is, as I say, a great deal of overlap.
Yeah, well, because I'm smearing icing on philosophy. That's right. I'm here to smear fucking frosting on serious subjects so I can make them look silly and stupid. So people won't be serious. So people will be stupid like me. Something like that.
Existentialism and certain arguments in favor of antinatalism. But anyway, thanks for the response.
Whatever. God, I really could hate this guy. Alright, hell next, it just keeps this crap, but it is this whole word, whatever, salad, word soup, word poop, word diet, whatever. This is just such crap that people can't deal with simple concepts. You create value by having experiences, good and bad. You create value by causing experiences, good and bad. Really, you think there's something else happening? That's not what's happening on planet Earth. That's not happening to you. You're telling me you're hearing these words and you don't think that that's what's happening. You're having an experience and the world is having an experience based on your impact on it. And you can't figure that out. You really can't. You think there's something else happening. You think there's some other mechanism that you're somehow part of.